So let's get into the what being a professional jazz musician. No, a professional. Let's just say professional musician. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
What do you consider the greatest reward? I mean, the gift that you have of being your career.
Well, I mean, the thing I love about it is you're actually doing something you love, and if you look at it, the way I see it is that you really are getting involved in something that you spend a lot of time, but now you can bring it out and you can show people and you can show all this collaboration and different things and be creative at the same time. Now that's not all gigs or not all things that you're going to do, but the reality is that the creativity is interwoven into all of these parts of it. So in a way, you're doing what you've been working on the whole time. You're working. It's just a part of your life, and then it moves through the life. I think it's not work. It's never work. If it's maintained that way.
And there must be some synergy between the different elements of the people in the band, that you create something bigger than you could do by yourself and push you in a different direction. There's growth, right, from being in a collective environment like that?
Well, I think so. I think that's very much a part of that's something personally I like about jazz. But I mean, not everybody in jazz necessarily feels the same way, but I always like playing in groups. I like being a part of a collaborative group producing a sound. I could play solo saxophone, but it wouldn't sound, to me, as rewarding as playing in front of a group with some great musicians where everybody's having a say in that music. And also the fact is that for me personally, and I've worked on a lot of different music styles over the years, different types of music, and I found jazz to be one of these things that basically you just take yourself and you take your saxophone and you turn up anywhere and you start playing and things start to happen. And one of my first teachers told me that it's your passport to the world, and it kind of is. I mean, I moved pretty quickly from different places. I played in lots of different places. So you can pretty much work on that as a craft. I guess it's kind of nomadic, but at the same time it's very much a part of what a musician is about.
So that could actually be a positive or negative depending on whether the person liked seeing the world and liked moving around and liked variety, right? So that could be either way.
And these are some issues. I mean, the music scene, even in the short time that I've been in it, has changed a heck of a lot. When I was moving into jobs, there was a lot of studio work and session work, and that's where you would sit in one city and you just do your thing. But as things have changed over the periods of years, it's like you have to move around quite a bit now and make sure that you're in touch with whatever's going on wherever it is.
So how about the other side of it, the challenges of being a musician, the things you wish weren't part of the business or that most musicians would complain about or wish just wasn't that way? And you can make it specific to jazz or general to music,
I think the thing about music is there's music and then there's the business of music, or the business of music is much bigger than music. What the music part of it is, funnily enough, or to the individual performer. So if you do a concert, just for instance, and you're playing with a quintet, a string quartet or a jazz quintet, you've got to take into account that hall is being manned by a heck of a lot of other people, and there's publicists, and there's been word out on the street for weeks on what this is, and then they've got to fill the place with patrons and blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's a much bigger thing, and that's just the start of it. That's just doing a regular concert. You've got the recording part of it, the promotion end of it. You've got the publishing houses and all of the other stuff that goes along with that. So there's the musician and the music business. And a lot of people are drawn to music, like me, because they love music. And it's kind of a bit like flying. Everybody loves to fly. So if you learn to fly, just like if you learn to play music, people can pay you very low rates for doing that because they know there's a lot of people out there that love to do it. So the business of music and music can be two different things. And that is one of the biggest challenges, I think, for anybody in the industry to work out where that line is. How they take an interest, and then how you prepare for that. So how you prepare your music's mindset for that business mindset at the same time. And I think that's something that's always needs to be discussed with people.
Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking of, unless you're a extremely popular star or something, you don't have an agent or a financial team or people trying to arrange everything and looking out for your interests. You're kind of winging it, and I wouldn't think every musician is some financial business guru.
No.
Right? That's a challenge because you have to fend for yourself, right?
Well, yeah, and that's where you hear a lot of musicians getting trouble with the IRS, or it's totally unrelated to the art of playing music. Like, playing music is a lot of preparation, hours and hours and hours of practice, rehearsing, sound checks, playing in the recording studio, playing concerts, doing all that sort of stuff. But that doesn't have much to do with all of that other stuff, but you've got to take care of it at the same time.
Yeah, that sort of leads into the next question I had for you, which is the kind of personality or skill set, and I know those are slightly different things, that a person needs in music to do well. I mean, I know part of it is be able to play, right? But can you describe, can you get your arms around that question? So somebody at home's thinking, do I have the personality, can I do this, you know?
I think the great thing about music is that it has a lot of room in it for different personality types. I mean, you can see really aggressive personalities in there. You can see very laid-back personalities in all forms of music too. And I'm not just talking about jazz per se. Like there's a lot of personality scope in musicians you will work with, whether they're quick thinkers, slow thinkers, contemplative, or all of these different things. That's definitely a part of the personality of the musician. But how that personality needs to morph and change for the business side of things, that's a different thing. And also, the intersection of that point, I mean, at some point, musicians need to be sensitive about a lot of things, yet at the same time they have to be very thick-skinned about a lot of things, even when you're dealing with criticism. All of that sort of stuff that, people write a critical review, and it's like it can just get at the wrong or right thing depending on what they
And I imagine you might react to it in your playing to try to compensate for it, right?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of I've seen in the jazz idiom a lot of people react to criticisms like that. That's definitely a part of what's happened along the way.
I wonder if they've ever thought, of course I've thought of this as a coach, that we need to teach people the business side of whatever their profession is. I wonder if they might ever someday have a business class for artists, like 101, the basics of business and contracts and something, so that you could fend for yourself a little more on the business side.
Well, I think that, a lot of universities definitely have, entrepreneurship in music and programs that will help along those lines. But I don't think it really represents the actual amount of work the person needs to do, proportionate to the amount of music they've already done. So, I mean, one of the things I would say is, like, if you need to practice, get your practice done, because once you start on the business side, you don't have time to practice anymore.
Wow.
It's just, it becomes, very time consuming. Especially now when you look at things like Facebook, I see people like great musicians totally consumed on Facebook, dealing with all of the pressures of that and making sure they've got their audience and blah, 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 blah. And I mean, actually, it probably should be done by somebody else.
Yeah. Have you had to teach yourself a lot of the different aspects of the business of?
I have. I don't know whether I've done it very well though. I mean, that's part of the worry. I mean, I was fortunate that I got into the educational side of it much before a lot of people, especially of my generation, saw that as valuable. So I was doing college education at a very, 20 years ago in this country, a long while ago, doing that sort of stuff. And a lot of my peers were out touring. I was going out and touring in summers and doing all different things. Mm-hmm. But that, I was able to use the security and that environment to build up a lot of those skills that I need. But that's again another part of the business. You see, teaching music is part of the business side of the music. That's not playing. Playing and teaching is two different things. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the business side, that even comes under that. That's another whole area of expertise you've got to negotiate. Like if you think of possible things that a musician can do, you can play music, or you can produce records. You can be asked to produce a friend's record. They'll say, "Can you help? I need somebody to sit in the control booth," and then you'll sit there and you're their set of ears to help them out. That's what a producer does, basically.